A mysterious UFO crash site discovered on Mars. The signal came from nowhere. No scheduled transmission. No mission update. No Earth command signature. Just a single distorted audio pulse buried inside the Mars rover's deep scan logs. At first, NASA analysts dismissed it as interference, solar noise, sensor glitch, maybe even data corruption from the harsh Martian radiation. But then the image arrived. And everything changed. On the rust-red plains of Utopia Planitia, the rover's ground-penetrating radar revealed something that should not exist. A structure. Not rock. Not ice. Metal. Perfectly curved. Too smooth for erosion. Too symmetrical for nature. And partially buried beneath centuries of Martian dust was a crash site. A craft. Massive. Alien. Broken. Back on Earth, the control room went silent. One scientist zoomed in on the scan, hands trembling slightly. "That isn't ours," he whispered. It wasn't just the size. It was the geometry. The ship didn't match anything in human aerospace design, or even known physics models. Its hull appeared to bend light slightly, like reality itself was struggling to define its edges. And then the second anomaly appeared. Footprints. Not human. Not robotic. Multiple sets of impact patterns circling the wreckage, as if something had arrived after the crash. Within hours, the mission shifted from geological survey to containment-level investigation. A rover upgrade was dispatched. Deeper sensors. Spectral scanners. Thermal imaging. And a priority directive from Earth. Do not initiate excavation without confirmation of biological presence. But Mars does not wait for permission. The rover moved closer, every wheel crunching softly against ancient dust that had not been disturbed for thousands, maybe millions, of years. The ship loomed larger now, and then the rover detected it. A pulse. Weak. Rhythmic. Inside the wreck. Something was alive. And then, another transmission. Not from Earth. Not from the rover. But from the crash site itself. A frequency no human system recognized. A language older than any known alien database. The rover's audio feed distorted, then stabilized. And for a brief moment, a single word translated itself through Earth's AI decoding layer. Return. The control room froze. Because that word was not a request. It was a warning. Or worse, a command. And deep inside the Martian wreckage, something began to move for the first time in centuries. A mysterious UFO crash site discovered on Mars. The rover stopped. Not because it was told to, but because its systems began to fail in ways no diagnostic program could explain. Telemetry flickered. Cameras stuttered between frames, and the Martian surface seemed to shift under its gaze, as if the planet itself was resisting observation. Inside mission control, alarms erupted. "Radiation spike," someone asked. "No," came the answer. "It's localized, centered on the wreck." That shouldn't be possible. Mars had no magnetic field strong enough for such behavior. No known energy source could produce a focused distortion like this. Unless it wasn't natural. The rover's external mic picked up a new sound. A low metallic hum. Not mechanical in the human sense. Not electrical either. Something deeper. Like a structure waking up after a long, forced sleep. And then the dust around the crash site began to rise. Slowly. As if gravity had forgotten how to hold it down properly. The alien arrival happened without warning. First came the shadow. A massive triangular craft slipped into orbit above Mars, silent and precise. Then another. Then 5 more. No radio chatter. No identification signal. Just presence. And Earth noticed immediately. But before any diplomatic channel could open, they were already descending. Within minutes, multiple alien species arrived at the crash site. Not allies. not unified. Different empires, different languages, different agendas. Yet all of them shared one expression: fear. One species, tall and insectoid with crystalline armor, activated a scanning beam over the wreck. Another, floating in anti-gravity suits, projected holographic symbols that flickered violently, like they were trying to understand something they refused to believe. And then came the most terrifying realization. They were not here first. The crash site had already been visited, long ago, not by humans, not by any known civilization, but by something that left behind markers, seals, warnings. Buried beneath the hull were structures carved into Martian bedrock, patterns that formed a containment lattice around the ship. It wasn't a crash site. It was a prison. Inside the rover feed, the translation AI struggled again. Fragments of alien communication overlapped in corrupted layers. Ancient signal detected. Do not breach. It remembers us. It was never meant to awaken. And then, the ship responded. A section of the hull split open. Not explosively, not violently, but deliberately. Like something inside had decided it was time. A light poured out, not bright, but absolute, swallowing contrast itself. The alien observers all stepped back in unison. Even the most advanced among them lowered their weapons, because they understood what was happening. Something had been asleep under Mars. Something that even the galaxy had agreed should never be found again. And now, it was awake. The rover transmitted one final image before systems fully collapsed. A shape inside the light. Not fully formed, not fully visible, but unmistakably aware of being seen. And then the signal returned. Stronger this time. Clear. Directed at all observers on Mars. Not one language. Not one species. But somehow understood by all of them at once. You brought them back. A mysterious UFO crash site discovered on Mars. For 3 seconds, no one moved. Not the alien fleets in orbit. Not the assembled ground teams. Not even Earth's control rooms watching through delayed telemetry. Because the voice wasn't just heard. It was felt. Like pressure inside the mind. Like a memory that didn't belong to anyone, yet somehow belonged to everyone at once. Then the panic began. Orbiting ships broke formation instantly. Some accelerated away from Mars. Others locked weapons onto the surface. A few attempted emergency quantum jumps, but failed mid-execution, as if space itself had become unstable around the planet. On the ground, alien factions turned on each other. This was your excavation protocol. You triggered the resonance. No, this was contained before humans arrived. And that last word, humans, echoed differently. Not accusation, not insult, but implication. Inside the Martian wreck site, the light expanded again. Not outward like an explosion, but inward, folding reality around it. The buried ship was no longer a ship. It was a threshold. And something on the other side was pressing against it. Testing it. Remembering how to open it. Earth received a final corrupted transmission from the rover's dying systems. Fragments stitched together by AI reconstruction. Containment lattice failing. Martian crust is not rock. It is sealing material. Constructed, not natural. Purpose, imprison non-local intelligence. Then a pause. A final correction. Correction, not imprison. Delay. Back on Earth, scientists stared at the implications. Mars wasn't just a planet. It was engineered. A lock. A planetary-scale mechanism designed to keep something from returning to normal space. And the crash site. It wasn't an accident. It was a failure point. The alien fleets above Mars finally began broadcasting openly. Not to Earth. Not to each other. but to the thing beneath the surface. A unified signal of desperate warning. The translation systems on Earth struggled, but one phrase cut through clearly. We did not awaken you. We only disturbed what already dreamed. Then silence. The Martian surface cracked. Not in one place, but everywhere around the crash site. Perfect geometric fractures spread across the dust, forming a vast circular pattern miles wide. Like a seal breaking. Like something unlocking from beneath the planet's crust. And from deep below, a sound rose. Not mechanical. Not biological. But architectural. The sound of something enormous shifting after an eternity of stillness. The alien fleets began firing. Energy weapons, plasma bursts, gravitational lances, all directed into the opening. The surface glowed white-hot. For a moment, it seemed like resistance might hold. Until the light beneath Mars absorbed it all. Every attack vanished without effect. No explosion. No reflection. Just erased. And then the final message arrived. Not from the rover. Not from the aliens. But from the thing beneath Mars itself. It spoke again. Calmer now. Certain. You were not invited. Orbiting ships went dark. One by one. Not destroyed. Not fleeing. Just gone from sensors. As if they had been removed from the concept of observation itself. And deep beneath the surface, the ancient presence began to rise. Slowly. Deliberately. As if it had all the time in the universe. Because it did. A mysterious UFO crash site discovered on Mars. The silence after the message was worse than the voice itself. Because now everyone understood something terrifying. Whatever was under Mars didn't need to fight them. It only needed to decide they were irrelevant. Above the planet, what remained of the alien armadas tried one final coordinated action. Not attack. Not defense. A retreat. Hundreds of ships attempting synchronized escape jumps out of Martian orbit. Space bent. Reality folded. And for a split second, hope returned. Then Mars responded. Not with force. With structure. The geometric fractures across the planet's surface ignited in sequence, like a vast ancient circuit being reactivated after millions of years. Lines of light connected across continents. The entire planet became a glowing lattice. A system rebooting. Inside mission control on Earth, alarms were no longer useful. There was no category for what was happening. One scientist whispered, "It's activating the planet-wide construct." Another replied, "That means Mars was never a prison." A pause. It was a control system. The alien ships began disappearing mid-jump. Not exploding. Not failing. Just vanishing as if the destination coordinates themselves had been invalidated. One fleet captain transmitted a final fragmented message. "It is rewriting travel space." The signal cut. And then it rose. From beneath the Martian crust, something vast began to emerge. Not breaking the surface violently, but unfolding it. The planet did not crack open. It unfurled. Like a shell revealing something far larger inside than the exterior should ever contain. The crash site was no longer a site. It was now the central node. And the buried UFO? It was only a key fragment. A small part of a system so large it extended beneath the entire planet. The entity's presence expanded into orbit. Not physically at first. Conceptually. Satellites lost calibration. Navigation systems drifted. Even human perception of distance began to distort slightly, as if Mars itself was rewriting spatial logic around it. And then, for the first time, it looked outward, toward Earth. Every listening device on Mars, human and alien, received the same transmission. Perfectly clear, calm, inevitable. This world was never your discovery. A pause. Long enough for understanding to settle. Then the second line arrived. "IT was your test. The alien fleets, now reduced to scattered remnants, stopped attempting escape entirely, because they finally recognized the truth. Mars was not a battlefield, not a tomb, not even a weapon. It was a threshold examiner, and humanity had just been noticed by it. On Earth, the scientists waited for impact, for invasion, for extinction, for anything familiar. Instead, the system beneath Mars began to synchronize, and the final message echoed across space, not directed at fear, but at judgment. Species designation required. And Earth realized something that made every room go cold. It wasn't asking what humans were. It was asking what humans were allowed to become. Earth did not answer immediately, not because they were deciding, but because the question itself didn't fit anything humanity had ever been trained to respond to. Species designation required. It sounded like bureaucracy, but it felt like judgment. Inside Mission Control, the most advanced AI systems attempted classification. Biological category, human. Technological level, pre-interstellar. Threat level, unknown. Then the systems froze, because every model began producing the same anomaly. A new classification field appeared on its own. One no engineer had programmed. Category, undefined. Mars responded instantly. The planetary lattice tightened. Not aggressively, but attentively, as if the system had been waiting for that exact label. The alien remnants in orbit panicked again. Their transmissions fractured into overlapping warnings. Do not classify them. It reacts to classification. It chooses outcomes based on designation. Then static. Then silence. One by one, their signals stopped entirely. On the Martian surface, the buried construct stabilized. The vast unfolding structure paused mid-emergence. And for the first time since the awakening began, it waited. Then the voice returned, calmer than before. Almost curious. Undefined designation detected. A pause. Long enough that Earth realized something unsettling. It wasn't processing language. It was processing intent. The rover feed, still partially alive through backup fragments, reconstructed a final image from corrupted data. Not the wreckage, not the aliens, but a vast internal architecture beneath Mars. Layer upon layer of impossible geometry. A machine not built for war, not built for storage, but built for evaluation. And then the truth arrived like a collapsing star. Mars was not the origin of the system. It was one node in something larger. Much larger. A galaxy-spanning construct designed to measure civilizations not by strength, but by unpredictability. The voice spoke again, and this time, Earth understood why it felt personal. All prior designations failed. All prior species were classified. All prior civilizations were terminated or contained. A pause. Longer this time. Almost thoughtful. Then the final line echoed across Mars, across orbit, across every remaining listening device in the system. You are the first to return no answer. Silence. No one spoke. Because humanity realized something terrifying. Every other civilization had tried to become understandable, to fit the system, to survive the classification. But humanity hadn't. Not on purpose. Not even knowingly. They simply didn't fit. And beneath Mars, the ancient construct began to change again. Not activating. Not attacking. But adapting. As if something that had judged trillions of lives across the galaxy was now encountering the first result it could not resolve. And for the first time in recorded cosmic history, the system issued a new protocol. Escalation. Observation directed to source civilization. Earth's screens flickered. Satellites turned. Telescopes reoriented automatically. Every instrument in the solar system began focusing in one direction. Not Mars, not the aliens, but inward, toward humanity itself. And the final message arrived. Soft, uncertain, almost like a question that had never been asked before. What are you? The question hung over Earth like a second sky. What are you? Not a demand for data. Not a scan request. Not even a classification attempt. It was something far more dangerous. A system that had judged galaxies, asking for identity. For the first time since the anomaly began, Earth did not scramble scientists or supercomputers. It called something else. Humanity. Across the planet, emergency broadcasts activated. Not warnings, coordination. Every language, every nation, every fragmented system of governance suddenly pulled into one shared moment of awareness. Mars was not just an event anymore. It was an evaluation. And Earth was being watched in real time. In Mission Control, a young communications officer broke protocol and opened a direct planetary channel. No committee approval. No AI filtering. Just a raw transmission from humanity itself. At first, there was silence. Then a single voice. Not artificial. Not optimized. Human. We don't know what you expect us to be. A pause. Outside, Mars glowed faintly as the construct listened. We are not stable. We are not consistent. We change. We break things. We fix them wrong. Then we try again. Another pause. You're asking for classification, but we don't live inside boxes. Orbiting alien remnants that still remained drifted silently, listening. Even they didn't interrupt. The voice continued. Stronger now. We've been afraid since we looked at the stars. We've been curious since before we could speak. We built weapons before we built understanding. And we built understanding by surviving what we should not have survived. Mars responded with a faint structural shift. The lattice across its surface stabilized again, but not aggressively. Attentively, the construct spoke once more. Not cold, not commanding, but processing something unfamiliar. All prior civilizations presented coherent identity profiles. A pause. You present variability. Earth's voice answered again, this time softer. Yeah. Silence. Then, something unprecedented happened. The system beneath Mars did not classify, did not judge, did not terminate. Instead, it extended a new signal outward. Not a command, not a warning, but a framework, a bridge protocol. Across the solar system, every listening device translated it into the closest human equivalent. Continue. Mars stopped unfolding. The alien fleets that remained did not flee or attack. They simply watched. Because for the first time in galactic memory, an evaluation system designed for absolute certainty had encountered something it could not resolve, and chosen to learn instead of end. On Earth, scientists stared at the readings in disbelief. One whispered, "It didn't classify us." Another replied, "It invited us forward." And deep beneath Mars, the ancient construct settled into a new state. Not dormant, not active, but aware of humanity. And for the first time in billions of years of observation cycles, the system recorded a new entry. Species status, in progress. Somewhere in the silence between planets, Mars dimmed its glow. Not as an ending, but as a beginning. And humanity, still fragile, still chaotic, still impossible to define, looked back at the stars, not as subjects being judged, but as participants in something far larger than survival. The galaxy had finally asked, "What are you?" And for the first time, the universe waited for the answer. Fire end.